this particular poem, Migration, speaks about the migration, right? Migration is, what is migration, right? Migration is moving from one place to another, right? So it is not, moving in a sense, not travel, but you completely, uh, you leave your place and you go to another place and start living there. So that is migration. Okay. So, and why does migration take place usually? People migrate, right? Why does people migrate? Why does migration take place usually? So that 1947 is the year in which the largest migration in India has been recorded. So the what happened in 1947 is, the India got independence, and with the independence came the partition. So partition is where, where India and you know uh, where India, where what happened is, the Pakistan was declared as a new country, and by then the problem was, uh, what we call as Pakistan today, that region, as well as the region of Bangladesh, which used to be East Pakistan by then, as well as the portions of Hyderabad were declared to be an Islamic state, because the Pakistan, that was the idea through which the British, um, it was the British who passed the charter of Indian partition, and the partition of India was based on the religious background. That is, India would be the land for all other religions, and Pakistan would be declared as an Islamic state. So what happened was, the people, see, but in practicality, that is not how it was, right? In practicality, in most of the regions of Pakistan, all kinds of people were living, and of course, the same over here in India. The people who follow Islam were from top to bottom everywhere. So it is not right to, I mean, it is one of the tragic incidents in history, that people were decided that if you belong to this religion, you have to go out of the country. And but at least in India, um, in many regions, they said, people who follow Islam are welcome, and there is no need to worry about that. So except for few regions, most of the regions agreed for that. But when it comes to the Pakistan government, they were very adamant that Pakistan will stay as a Islamic state. So the people who belongs to other region over there, they had to come to India. They're not originally, they have lived their life in the regions of Pakistan, whether it is Bangladesh, or the Punjab region or Sindh region. So wherever they are, they have to move from their ancestral place to a new place, right? And that is the biggest migration which has took place. And uh, today we don't have much idea regarding the migration or the partition, the incidents which took place at the time of partition. But a large number of people have moved from there to here. So giving example, the author of this poem, Daruwala, he himself was from Pakistan. He was born in Pakistan. Dr. Manmohan Singh, our prime minister, so he was born in Pakistan, but after the independence, their family had to come to India. And even Lal Krishna Advani, who was deputy prime minister at one point of time. He was from he was born in Pakistan. So so that is what we see, that there are a lot of people who have taken birth in Pakistan, who have grown up in Pakistan. Their family was in Pakistan. Their house, their properties, their more than house, ancestral houses, because ancestral house is considered to be sacred. Ancestral house is something which has a very big emotional attachment, so that they have to leave and come back. It's not coming back, they had to come. It's not coming back, they had to come and settle down in a new place, uh, with no money in their hand, with no property. They have to start everything from zero. So that is the situation which took place in 1947, and that is the biggest migration recorded in the history of India. So, and yes, Gautami. Right.
Sir,
Hmm.
there are some migrants who don't have a permanent place.
Mm-hmm.
They will
Like,
be migrating from. They will be migrating with their whole family.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yes, yes. Tell
uh,
me. Tell me.
they will be migrating from village to village, sir.
Hmm.
And in one village, once they means they will make tents and they will work for their field, and who is the owner of the field, for them they'll work, sir. And they'll do some that Germany vessels and all,
Mm-hmm.
Germany vessels and some statues like that work they will do, and they will be migrating from one village to other village, sir,
Mm-hmm.
with the whole family, and they have their own language.
Hmm. Yes.
It's not like uh, common, means not Hindi or not Kannada or not Telugu, Tamil or anything.
Hmm.
They have their own language.
Hmm.
Here, this side, it's more, sir. I have seen.
Hmm. Yes. So see, that is entirely different. There are certain cultures which follow that. There are certain cultures who are who do not stay at one place. That their livelihood itself is they move from one place to another. It's migratory in nature. There are certain cultures that way. In Karnataka, there is a tribe in Uttar Kannada district. I'm not very sure of the name. So they follow the same, and there are certain people who does it for living. That is, they are daily laborers, and they cannot find work all the time. So what they do is they wherever there is work, they move, especially the construction workers, right? So either it is building construction or road construction workers, they are usually such kind of migrants. They migrate for, I mean, they move from one place to another for the sake of the for the sake of employment. But that is not something which can be considered as migration. That is because
They will
they,
have children.
yeah,
What about the education and all?
yeah, there's a lot of problems attached to it. That's a that but that's an entirely different issue, right? So the government has certain plans for them, but in many places that is not executed properly. So that is the case. But the thing is, the migration is where you leave everything you have. So usually what happens is, they the people which Gautami mentioned, they do not have a fixed house kind of structure. They usually live in tents, and and they they have they carry everything with them. It's not like uh, they abandon a place and leave. So that doesn't usually happen. So but migration is something like you carry everything you have, and you move from one place to another. If you know about flood, during the flood what happens, so you might have an idea. All right, and that is migration. So here in this poem is completely about the same, the migration. So the migration is movement of people to a new area or country in order to find work or better living conditions. So that is definition of migration. And let's talk. Migration are always difficult. Ask any drought, any plague. Ask the year 1947. So all kinds of migrations are difficult. So there are a lot of problems which the people encounter when they have to migrate. And he says, you can ask drought, you can ask plague, you can ask 1947. So and these are the times when migration majorly took place. Ask the chronicles themselves, if there had been no migrations, would there have been enough history to march on? Chronicles is the stories, the stories. So you ask the historian, you ask a history, right? So if there was no migration, was there much history, right? You take the Indian history for that matter. So there are the life in India, the human life in India started because of migration, because humans did not born in India, they were born in Africa, and they have to come from there to here. So of course, in order to start the human history, there had to be migration in the first place. Then came Indus Valley civilization. Indus Valley civilization is, they migrated to Indus Valley civilization, and from there they had to migrate to other places, right? So because Indus Valley civilization fell, and people had to move to different parts of the country, and of course, the river. By then, the Sindhu River was very important, and after that, the Ganga and Yamuna, those rivers took prominence. So and then the Islamic rulers migrated to India, right? So they came from West Asia. Then the British, then the Portuguese, British, French, and all these people. Even before that, the Parsis, they migrated to India. Jews migrated to India, right? And that is that gives us an idea that the history is spoken. The migrations are very crucial in history, right? So without migration, there is nothing much to speak about history, right? So that is what and that is what he's trying to say. You ask the historians, they'll tell you that without no migration, there is no much history to speak about, right? Going back time is also tough. Ask anyone backtracking to Sargodha, Jhelum, or Main Valley. So these are the three districts in Pakistan, which was uh, I'm sorry, yeah, these are the three districts in Pakistan which was prominently occupied by the people who people who later migrated. So you ask people who went there. So reverse migration, what I was talking about, it's not reverse migration here actually. It's like going back. So moving from one place to another itself is difficult. That we have already established. Moving from in this particular case, moving from Pakistan to India, right? Moving from probably Lahore to let us say Lahore to Bangalore, let us say. Moving from Lahore to Bangalore itself is difficult. one. So when they move here, uh, if they go back, if they go back to Lahore for any purpose, just to see what is happening and how the situation has changed, they are going to be even more disappointed. They're going to have, they're going to face a lot of disappointment because things have changed much. Things obviously have changed very, very much, and that is something which is very, very difficult. Um, right. So a reverse migration in this case, just backpacking back to the place. So that is difficult as well. So going back in time is also tough. New faces among old brick. Politeness, sentiment dripping from the lips of strangers. That is still your house, sir. So see, imagine, you know, this is very difficult to explain because it is something which has to be felt, and that feeling is not easy. Right? So, what is that feeling? The people, you go back to your place, you see your house. You see your house being there. The house you lived in, but somebody else lives there now. Right. And those people are good too. They're good people. But it is still your house, but it is not your house. Right. So, and that is a very hard, very difficult feeling to cope up with. And that is what author is trying to say. In migration, what happens? There were families who came from Lahore to different parts of the country. Let us say Lahore to Hyderabad, and someone goes back there just to see how are things now, and it is very painful to look at their house, somebody else living in their house, and it's very difficult. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So and if you meditate on time, that is no longer time. Past is frozen, it is stone, that is which doesn't move, and pulsate not time. So what is trying to say is, mm, what is trying to say is, uh, when there is time, sorry, something happened. Okay. So the past is completely frozen. You understand what is past is completely frozen. It is something which can be changed. It has happened, and it's right there. It's ended. So that is what, the past is. You can't do anything about the past. So in that situation, in that condition, you start thinking about past. You start reminiscing. You start, there are certain things which triggers memory. We call it as material memory. What is material memory? Material memory is, when you see an object, and it brings back memory. For example, let us say, um, what object? Yes, I have a ring here. So there is so much story about this ring, and I lose the ring. And one day I finds the ring. I look at the ring, and I start reminiscing. There are so many memories about this ring, and so on. So we try to meditate on past. We try to meditate on time. All right. So that is what, that is the meaning of meditating about the time, meditating about the past, thinking about the past. So uh, and the problem is, we experience, we see things, and we reminisce certain incidents, certain feelings, and all this. But but the past is past. You can't change the past. You can't go back to past. You have to accept that, in this case, you see the house, and you remember playing in the house, and being with your family, very beautiful memories. But but you can't go back in time. there is already somebody else living there, and you can't go back to Pakistan because you have been an Indian citizen and so on. So this is a problem. This is the situation which people are experiencing, right? So the time is frozen, and it is no longer time. It is no longer time in the sense, it is past. It's not something which you can experience. It's gone, right? So if you meditate on that scrap of time, the mood turns pensive, like the monsoon gathering in the skies but not breaking. So if you meditate on this, if you meditate just on just on this, it is you think about the past scrap of time, this piece of time, the mood turns pensive. Pensive is reminiscing. The pensive is engaging. You start engaging with the time. You imagine yourself playing there, playing in the house, probably preparing food for someone you love. So all this, just like the monsoon, monsoon is very beautiful season, isn't it? Monsoon is something, uh, if you have noticed, monsoon is the season where you respond with nature. You respond with the rain, you respond with the mood of the cloudiness, you respond to the mood of rain. So just like the monsoon, we get engaged with the memories, but but there is actually no connection, right? There is the, it has been lost, it has been already distant, right? So this is what we see. um, we'll end the discussion for